After finishing as the second seed at the end of last season, the Grizzlies were favorites to repeat their brilliance again this year, and maybe even get their hands on some silverware. But after Ja Morant's 25-game ban for this season, they've been mostly at the bottom of the table. Hello and welcome back to NBA Swish. It seems fairly obvious that Ja Morant was a key part of the Grizzlies' game plan, and without him, they were obviously struggling badly. But the question remains, will he be able to replicate his form from last season after being out for 25 games? And will he change the Grizzlies' fortunes? Well, stick around to the end as we answer these questions and more as we delve into the various intricacies surrounding Ja Morant's comeback. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. First things first, let's take a trip down memory lane to the start of the season. Everyone knew the Grizzlies wouldn't have their star player with them, but they weren't that concerned. They have other emerging stars as well, like Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr., both of whom had proved to the world that they too have that superstar potential and could stand in their own spotlight. Moreover, they had also shored up their defense with the arrival of Marcus Smart and added to their plentiful experience of veterans with Derrick Rose. Everyone thought that the new trades, along with the old team, would be able to balance the ship and maintain form until their main player came back, right? Well, as it turned out, that team that was competing for the first seed last season was now competing for the last seed to start this season, all because of the absence of Ja Morant. Now, I hope everyone can understand why his comeback is so important for the Grizzlies. And I know there have been rumors and talks circulating about not making a comeback for the Grizzlies since his highly controversial affiliation with guns. As you all know, gun-related violence is highly common in the United States. And for an NBA player, it's almost sinful to be spotted near such weapons of violence. The NBA fines players for even talking about a controversial subject sometimes. Posting pictures with guns is a big no-no. And guess what? Ja Morant didn't do it once, he did it 2 times. It's no wonder he was banned for 25 games, and some people even thought he wouldn't be allowed to come back. But considering his importance as a player for the Grizzlies and for the NBA as a whole, there is no way they were going to let their star player go, especially after the disastrous start to the season without him. The Memphis Grizzlies, once languishing at the bottom of the Western Conference, had been anticipating the return of their star player. There was this hype around his return, with many people talking about whether he'd be the same player as before, or the extended ban would result in a decline. Well, you can forget about decline because it's almost felt like he was gearing up for a return and finally was able to unleash himself. For those who didn't watch his return game on December 19th, Ja delivered a stunning performance, sealing a 115-113 victory over the New Orleans Pelicans with a game-winning floater at the buzzer. Yeah, you heard that correctly. He scored a buzzer-beating winner on his return game. It's crazy. And that's not all. It was thanks to his heroics that the Grizzlies were even able to win at all. This was despite a 24-point deficit in the first half. Morant's 34-point debut, marked by a captivating spinning dribble, turned the tide for the Grizzlies. That right there really goes to show his importance to the team. Speaking of importance to the team, the victory broke their 5-game losing streak. We all know that the Grizzlies were struggling before Ja's comeback game, but to be on a 5-game losing streak clearly shows the team was struggling. And to come back and win against a decent team like the Pelicans shows Ja's absence was indeed the problem. And mind you, the Pelicans were coming off of a 4-game win streak at the time as well. They had momentum. This makes Ja's contribution even more unique. He really is one of the league's best players right now, and given his 25-game hiatus, it makes this even more impressive. But why are the Grizzlies so dependent on the star guard? Why do they need Ja Morant to help them win, even though they have a decent team without him? Well, for starters, the team lacks that clutch mentality that is so crucial for any team to win games. You might have decent players, but if you don't have those killer clutch players, you won't be able to win a lot of games. This is where Ja's absence has been palpable, especially in close games where his clutch performances are sorely missed. Just like he willed his team to victory against the Pelicans through a clutch drive and finish, his influence has been transformative, turning the Grizzlies from a struggling team to a contender within just a few seasons. I'm telling you, that clutch mentality is so underrated. It is massively important. But being clutch is just the cherry on top. Let's take a bite out of the cake first. Despite having so many amazing players, the Grizzlies lack in one department: offense. They were pretty decent in defense, with players like Marcus Smart and Jaren Jackson Jr. being elite defenders on the team, but they were poor offensively, like really poor. In fact, before Ja's draft to the team, they faced a lot of offensive struggles and had one of the worst net ratings in the NBA. Fast forward to the present, and Ja has propelled the team to become one of the highest scoring and most improved in the league. It's no wonder they were struggling so much when he was banned. So now that Ja is back and we know he's firing on all cylinders, let's assess his glaring problem moving forward. Sure, some of you might disregard his misconduct with firearms and the subsequent ban since he served his penalty, but it really calls for caution in the future. In fact, it's crucial to address concerns surrounding him, since any further issue regarding the matter could result in the end of his NBA career. And no, that is not hyperbole. Did you know that the NBA has placed Morant under a zero-tolerance policy? And any misstep could result in severe consequences, including a suspension or even a ban. The young superstar really needs to take care of himself now. You can expect any suspension to be harsh now, since he's already been seen or photographed with a firearm in public twice now, especially in such a small time frame. I am sure he is getting a lot of support from his team, but he needs to understand that he is treading a fine line here. It's a fine line that Morant must navigate to ensure a successful and trouble-free career. This time around, however, the team has some veterans on the roster that will hopefully help the young player bloom. Whatever the coaches and his peers say, no one can be as close to a player as his teammates. That's why veterans like Derrick Rose and Marcus Smart will be really instrumental in Ja's progress and character in the future, as they will surely provide guidance and offer any kind of wisdom they can. In fact, given his comeback and the situation this time around, despite all of the concerns, there's a belief that Ja's past incidents could be a catalyst for personal growth and a resurgence in his career. And when you think about it, it's actually kind of sad that this will forever be a mark on his, I'm sure to be stellar career, which after just a few years is probably going to have a lot of accolades to it. And what makes it even more sad is when you learn about his early report as a young college player. Did you know that scouts actually praised his humility, strong work ethic, and coachability when he was in college? This firearm misconduct incident is not due to his upbringing or due to the game of basketball. It was just a product of rapid fame and some bad decisions by a young man. I doubt anyone would have guessed that he would have been suspended for such an offense in the NBA back when he was at college. Sure, he was a late bloomer with a chip on his shoulder back then, but he was a trustworthy teammate. His character wasn't a major problem before getting drafted into the NBA. It just goes to show how fame can play a role in anyone's personality, and how you need to be careful in handling with the pros and cons that come with it. And going forward, I think we should all consider Ja's entire journey, not just the most recent setbacks. Look beyond this. Despite the difficulties, there has always been hope for redemption. His return with a renewed mindset and solid support could be a watershed moment for the Memphis Grizzlies. The takeaway is simple. Everyone's story has layers, and sometimes the setback is just a chapter in a much larger story. Just never give up, and I'm sure you'll not only be on the right track, but you'll also be thriving, just like Ja Morant. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.